Skyrim is a massive open-world RPG with many playstyles to choose from. Some focus on using magic to defeat your enemies, some swords. But what if you don't use any weapons as intended? Can you beat the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim as a Karen? A Karen is a middle-aged white woman who uses her privilege to get her way all the time, often through yelling or physical violence. The rules for this challenge are pretty simple. I can only use my fists and shouts to kill enemies. I arrived in Heligan for my execution, which I can only assume was for yelling too loud at a 16-year-old shopkeeper. I chose to be a Nord because it seemed like the best choice. Also, they have an ability to yell at their foes so loud they run away in fear, so it felt fitting. I named my character Karen, obviously, and started the playthrough. Just as my privileged head was about to be severed, a dragon attacked Heligan. It could scream so loud rocks fell from the sky. As people were dying, I wondered if it was possible to learn this power. I sided with the Imperials because Karen is brain dead, though thinking back on it, the Stormcloaks may have been the better choice due to their moderate racism. Once in the keep, I punched some Stormcloaks and stole some cabbage. After snapping several men's spines, I chugged 3 bottles of wine as my ancestors did, punched a bear, and escaped Heligan. I demanded some elf be my servant and harvested my crop from a farm. A finger sneaky flame told me to get his iPad back, and I didn't. Instead, I watched a man get executed because I missed out on mine and took a necklace from a still warm body. I don't think that people like this though, because when I was buying clothes from a kitty cat, I was attacked by some thugs. They were really strong and killed me a lot. I found out that they were scared of water though, and fought them from a lake for like 5 minutes. Next, I went into some sewers to find a new pair of gloves, but it didn't record, so I only have a video of me punching a rat to death. After acquiring my new fancy gloves, I joined the Dawn Guard, and was sent to a cave to kill some vampires. After climbing up a mountain the old-fashioned way, that being rubbing up against it until I went up, I finally made my way into the cave. I had to punch some of Satan's hounds and vampires, but I eventually made it to the center of the cave. My hand got poked, and I pushed some bowls around to reveal a woman. Then, rock monsters attacked me. I let Serana the vampire lady and my elf man do most of the work though. I found my first magic word. Sadly, it wasn't abracadabra, and I took the vampire woman home. At the vampire castle, I made some man buffets moan, and was kissed sweetly on the neck by King Horky. Then, I went to Bleak Falls Barrow to get Far Stupid Fight's iPad. I learned my animals in some puzzles, and killed a spooky spider for the fun of it. I learned more animals in another puzzle, and found another magic word. I punched the boss zombie man to death to electric boogaloo before he woke up, and took more cabbage from a farm. I returned the iPad so that Flamingo Silly Fine could watch Jake Paul, and got a new pair of pants from Jarl Balgruuf. They were stupid, so I threw them on the ground right in front of him to show him that I really didn't want them. Then, I punched a dragon and sucked the soul out of him, wink wink, and attempted to duplicate the necklace I pulled off a headless corpse. After that, I performed a ritual which gave me the power to wear multiple necklaces and gloves at once, and yelled at my elf so much, I had to knee his nuts into a liquid. I tried asking for a giant's manager, which resulted in me being launched into orbit. Then, I walked up the 17 steps and killed a troll. An old man requested that I yell at him, which I think was sexual, and learned to yell gooder. I sucked the old man's soul just like the dragon, and yelled my way off a mountain. Then I was sent to get the Flute of Jerky Windmaster, which involved punching skeletons, and jumping into shallow water and breaking both my ankles. The good news is, I learned that I can float. The dungeon contained some spiders, as well as traps that Elfman couldn't figure out. Eventually, I didn't find the magic trombone, and had a kerfuffle with Elf and a door.
you doing?
I talked to Delphine from a very odd angle and got into a bar fight because I didn't like the song a man was playing. It ended with my death. The old man eventually returned the favor of sexual yelling, and I yelled at some bandits. I also drank like 10 bottles of wine. Then, I punched a dragon to death in record time and crashed a party because I was refused my 17th bottle of wine.
Run out of the Alto wine. Do I have your permission to uncork the oven?
I raided the kitchen, grabbed my important items, including my cabbage, obviously, and punched my way to the manager of the establishment. They were all elves, but it wasn't racist because my servant is an elf. I convinced some old hermit to come with me, and we punched our way into Skyhaven Temple, grabbing all the cabbage along the way. When I got to the entrance of the temple, I couldn't progress because the old man got lost on the way. I found him petrified back in the cave and yelled at him until he followed me again. Once back at the entrance, I performed self-harm, found a cool set of armor, and looked out a very fancy wall. But I got bored looking at the wall and rammed Elf's skull into the floor and didn't reload a save this time. He's gone for good. I met the leader of the Greybeards who didn't have a beard, much less a grey one, and he taught me how to yell so good, flames exited my face. I yelled at him one too many times and he roasted me like a chicken. I asked Shrek where an Elder Scroll Trademark is, and he sent me to another senile old man. I honestly don't know why all the characters in this game are senile old men. I jumped out of a window and trekked across the Arctic to meet my next old man friend. He sent me into Dwemer Ruins, and I would honestly rather die than go into those. But I eventually made my way into Mushroom Land. The growing shrooms here would have helped the boring-ass journey through the dwarf castle. I took the wheelchair-accessible elevator into the dungeon and pressed some buttons until I grabbed the Elder Scroll Trademark. I took the scroll to the throat of the world and read it.
Shudders at its touch.
Started from the bottom, now we way up.
It showed me a very long scene of old people killing dragons, but Alduin didn't show up like he was meant to. It made me wonder if maybe it was all a lie. But then I reloaded a save and it worked. Then the first fight with Alduin started, and I hid behind a rock while Parthenax did the work. Eventually I punched Alduin into submission, and he flew away. I had to hold a peace treaty because I'm clearly the most peaceful person in Skyrim. Ask Elfman. I dueled a woman and won in only a few punches and forced her to be my new servant and make me more gloves. I also performed another ritual where I could now wear 8 pairs of gloves at once, allowing my punches to do 80 damage. I caught a dragon and spanked him, though I can't show that, and rode him, wink wink, to Skulldolphin. In Skulldolphin, I punched some zombies into their second death, and jumped into the portal to Sovngarde. I was hoping to see Elf in Sovngarde, but then I remembered that only full-blooded Nords got into heaven, as it should be. I beat the sun in a duel, and got into the Hall of Valor, where I met more old people. The final fight with Alduin started, and ended in a matter of seconds. It was very anticlimactic. And with that, I beat Skyrim as a Karen. Also, along the way, I collected nearly 200 cabbages. If you liked the video, then like the video, and if you didn't, why are you still here? And also, please consider subscribing and turning on notifications. It helps. Thank you. Goodbye.